Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
First down at 10 at their own 10-yard line. Tevin Coleman with some running room. Tevin Coleman down the sideline. Coleman, one man to beat. Tevin Coleman's going to go 90 yards, and Indiana takes the lead. Randall L. scrambles, started off the pitch, keeps it himself down the sidelines. He could go. Antoine Randall L. touchdown. Rory going to the single coverage, end zone. Touchdown! He hits Cooper again.
We're back. We are back. The Hoosier happy hour did not leave. Just took a little bit, I guess, leave of absence, right? A little bit. Brandon's got this new gig. He travels all the time. I got like 18 basketball teams I'm coaching. Seth is, I don't know what he's doing. Seth's here, though. Say hi to Seth. Seth's here.
Travel ball indoor practice season.
Yeah, I heard something about evaluations for the other day.
Oh, so, evaluations are every day, baby.
Oh,
if you're out here grinding on the mean AstroTurf streets of
baseball
northeast suburbs.
But yeah, we're here. We promised you something. I worked really hard on it for about a week, and that was about 7 days and 23 hours, 6 days and 23 hours longer than what we actually did as far as prep goes of that show. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't bring myself to release the garbage that we recorded.
We have our second ever lost episode. Yay.
Yes. But we'll cover the Golden Pints as promised in the show description. We'll do that a little bit later on. But we are going to talk about IU invading Indianapolis again. I didn't look this up, but it's got to be a record number of players.
Has to be
in the combine. I think there probably should have been at least one or two more. Maybe one and a half more, I guess you could say. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Teaser?
It is a little bit of a teaser. So what we'll do is I've got it broken down in days. So if people haven't seen what's going on, it's free, by the way, to go down to the combine. You can, air quotes, buy tickets online, but they don't cost anything. And we'll go through the schedule, what position groups are going, who from IU is going on each day, and then talk a little bit about them and what's going on. So unless Seth's got anything, we'll just roll right into it.
No, let's get into this.
The
problem with this is sometimes I've read so much about the draft stuff is that sometimes you'll see these really good draft notes from guys you absolutely can't stand and know are absolutely terrible scouts. And you're like, I hate that I agree with you on this one. Or yeah, it's hard. So I'll try to be, if you hear me repeat stuff, just understand that it's pooled from a lot of resources.
Yeah. And speaking of resources, I guess I should cite my source on this. All rankings that we'll talk about, we'll do a position ranking where they're projected to go in the draft. A little bit of some fun facts, maybe some stats for each one of the players as well. So as we go through, but the position rankings and projections are from Bleacher Report. I'm with you. It was tough to read Aiden Fisher's Bleacher Report breakdown as far as his draft projection goes. I think he's going to be fine, but in reality, I guess, as an NFL player, individual player, it's tough to.
Let's start with him on Thursday. Yeah.
There you go. Thursday. So tomorrow, or I guess today, when the episode comes out, we're not releasing an album yet, is place kickers, defensive linemen, and linebackers. That's who's going to be training tomorrow or today, whenever. Thursday. We're just going to say Thursday. Thursday, February 26th. PK, DL, LB, and the only one representing Indiana from that group, Aiden Fisher, the 2025 first team All-American, first IU All-American at the linebacker position ever, and first team All-Big Ten, coming off of a good season, 97 tackles, 105 TFLs, or 105. Wow, that would be incredible. 10 and a half tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, 2 interceptions, and a touchdown. They've got him ranked as the 15th linebacker, roughly the 5th round grade on him. Aiden Fisher, Seth.
Yeah, you're going to hear me say that off-ball linebackers or middle linebackers, as us dorks, normal people call them, and halfbacks are the 2 hardest to grade for me, because unless they're Todd Gurley and Roquan Smith, where they're just obvious freaks and it's just like, oh yeah, those are top 5 guys, no doubt about it. The difference between a 3rd rounder and a 6th rounder, a 5th rounder, and a UDFA, the margin is so slim, I have a hard time deciphering sometimes. So that 5th round projection, I've also seen him all the way down to a UDFA. If he is, he'll be one of the most coveted undrafted free agents around. He's the type of guy who did it all at the college level, really developed. He was a stat stuffer at Austin Peay. He was a stat stuffer his first year at IU. This year, he became more of a role player because I think he was a stat stuffer out of necessity previously. This year, he was able to be a role player because he had so many great pieces around him. He's a guy who would be great on special teams. So as he develops into a 3-down linebacker in the NFL, he can get you special teams tackles. He can get good coverage. The thing you really liked about him is he developed as a player, became a 3-down linebacker at IU. Maybe was not the strongest in pass coverage to start with, but really developed into that, has been an absolute run stuffer, has been great in blitzing, has really done a little bit of all that you want to see from a linebacker, and isn't necessarily the prototypical sideline to sideline linebacker, but has enough to get the job done. And, he's going to be a real valuable late round pick, you'd have to think, for some team.
Yeah. I mean, did you say Austin Peay, by the way? When you were talking about his previous stop.
Did I say it?
I think you said Austin Peay. James Madison.
Oh, yeah. Who was the middle linebacker before that was
dang it.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to Google this.
Screaming at their listening devices right now.
Yes, sorry. James Madison Austin before.
Oh, that was no, it wasn't Walker. It was Asbury. Was Asbury at Austin?
No, it was a linebacker
because
he had like 160 tackles at the Division II level.
That was 12, number 12. That was Terry.
All right,
Terry.
Keep going.
Yeah, look it up.
You keep going on.
That's it for Thursday. We'll discuss maybe a couple players that probably should have been going on Thursday too. A little bit later when we talk about the snubs. But on Friday and on Saturday, those are the 2 main days for IU players. Saturday is going to be the big time names. Friday is going to be some big time names too.
Joshua Rudolph.
Josh Rudolph, that's right.
And they also got Cedarius Doss was an Austin Peay cornerback a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but not Aiden Fisher.
No, definitely not.
Okay. All right, back to Friday. Friday, tight ends and defensive backs. Probably, and I love this player, Seth, and I think that you'll probably agree with this. Maybe one of the surprises of the group that got invited to the combine, Riley Nowakowski. He'll be there. 2nd team All Big Ten. He had 32 catches. I didn't know he had that many on the season. 32 catches, 387 yards, 2 touchdowns. This is a fun stat. 2 carries, 2 yards, 2 touchdowns. And he almost had like the perfect book-ended part of the season where he would have had he didn't get that first rushing touchdown, did he? Of the season. I don't think so. Brady scored, and then I think it was Mendoza scored the first rushing touchdown. Well, then he's got it. There you go. I think he had the first rushing touchdown and the last rushing touchdown of the season. So look at that. Probably wrong on that. I know Brady opened the scoring on a punt return. I'm talking about the rushings. All right. Nowakowski, 2nd team All Big Ten. As I said, he had those stats that we talked about. He's got ranked at tight end 17. I don't think we see 17 tight ends drafted. That's a lot of tight ends, but they got him ranked around the 5 to 7 range. Thoughts?
So many teams are using the 12 personnel, so the idea of having a lot of tight ends drafted isn't so much of a stretch. I think he's probably somewhere in the 12 to 15 ballpark. I'm a little higher on him, I think, than other people. He, to me, is one of those guys you see in March Madness who isn't really a highly thought of guy, and then all of a sudden he plays 2 games in the tournament. All of a sudden, like, oh my God, that's a first round draft pick, and people go crazy about him. That's kind of what he did, where his playoff push really elevated his stock in a way that maybe wasn't putting on people's radar previously, where he was just a really nice piece on a really good team. And all of a sudden they were using him in specific ways that really, caused him to highlight his talents. And I think really put him on a lot of radars that he wasn't on before. So he's a guy I like, has a lot of upside, I think he has a layer of athleticism that he still hasn't tapped the top of his potential. Really good blocker, has a versatility to his game. And I think he can, again, be a guy who can play some special teams and probably be the 3rd tight end for a couple of years before he develops into maybe a 2-down tight end.
Yeah. And he's
maybe
not
some
be
fullback too.
Yeah.
So those teams that need a little bit of extra blocker.
He
like a
did
Durham
play
Smythe kind of role.
Yes. He did play 3 positions in college. He played linebacker, fullback, and tight end. So, and he was, again, coming into the season, I don't think really any of us expected what he turned out to be. I think maybe we expected that of any of the incoming tight ends, maybe Holden Stays, but Noah Kowski is unbelievable. And he's just, again, not going to blow anybody out of the water with his stats, not going to blow anybody out of the water with like massive jump ball plays or big, huge down the field catches. But you think about the dependability and the explosion plays that he had. I mean, he had 2, one against Illinois, he had one against Wisconsin, had a massive play against Penn State in the drive to win the game. So just a really solid player, and I think he'll make a great pro. The next 2 are shoo-ins for me. D'Angelo Pons, first team All-American, first team All-Big Ten, Rose Bowl and Peach Bowl defensive MVP, 60 tackles on the season, 4 for a loss, 1 forced fumble, 10 passes defended, 2 interceptions and a touchdown. Also had 1 catch for 6 yards, which I put on there. Quarterback ranked 6th, 33rd overall player going in the 2nd round. Probably, I think he's going to be what they call him, Kenny Moore. Man, I think he's a better version of Kenny Moore. I love Kenny Moore. Yeah.
Every overly confident guy with a couple of drinks in him will quote off one of the dumbass prognosticators who will tell you, oh, if he was only an inch and a half taller, he'd be a top 10 pick. I've heard that heard or read that half a dozen times. I've heard it quoted back to me half a dozen times, if not more. It's absolutely true, though. It's so stupid. If he's 5'10" and a half, if his arms are an extra inch and a half longer, they're talking about Patrick Surtain. They're talking about, all these different guys who have gone really highly rated in the last few years. He's a guy who will have to earn it a little bit more than some of the other guys. He'll probably start as a nickel, probably start as one of those guys who's a versatile, again, gunner on special teams, maybe. But he's a guy who, if I have to bet on an undersized guy, he's one of the guys I'm going to bet on. I think he has every bit of ball hawking capabilities you want. I think he is really going to struggle against some of the bigger guys. The 6'5", 225 pounders are going to, be tough matchups against anybody. But he did pretty well against Jeremiah Smith as the best competition. Obviously there's the one play that everybody can look at, but other than that, he held his own pretty well. So he's a guy who rises to the level of the competition. He likes to be challenged. And I'd have to think that, again, he's a player I would bet on if I had to.
Yeah, you go back and watch his highlight tape just at IU, and he's going against massive receivers. He's not playing in the slot. He's playing on his side, his only side, his short side, where they just leave him alone on an island nonstop. And he's just an incredible player. And I think he's going to be underlooked even at a 2nd round draft pick. Another guy, and the last guy on Friday that you'd see is Lewis Moore. I was talking with my wife about this. Like, what a story, man. Like, when he left IU to go to Ole Miss, you think like, okay, if he could get on the field, I could see maybe be a decent player. But to go from a pretty good season at IU on a really bad team to Ole Miss, where he didn't play at all. He got injured, missed a ton of games, and then to come in, fight for his eligibility through the first 4 or 5 games, and then finish with 90 tackles, second team All-American, first team All-Big Ten, 2.5 tackles for loss, 3 passes defended, and second in the country in interceptions with 6. The guy made his money. I mean, that's what they say, right? 73rd overall ranked prospect, the 8th ranked safety in the class, and projected about 3rd round draft pick. What do you think, Louis Moore? I think it's just solid safety.
Yeah, absolutely. He's one of those guys who's going to be a day one starter if he's drafted in the right spot, because safeties can be free safety or strong safety. A lot of teams are even throwing a third safety in the mix as a nickel sometimes. So he's a guy who can be an instant starter, instant viability. I think he's another guy I'm going to kind of like Nowakowski was, except for he was a little bit more on the radar. He was kind of a 5'7", until late in the season, where he really came on again, closing strong in the playoffs, and really elevated him to probably a 3, maybe a 4, somewhere in that ballpark. I think if there's a couple of things, if he had cleaned up, he maybe gets in the 2. But I think as a day 2 safety, if you're picking him, middle of 3rd round, you're expecting him to come in and start and play quite a bit. So I expect him to have a hell of a continuation of his story. And he's a guy you're going to want to root for, just like you said, with that story, with his perseverance. He has a lot of mental tenacity, a lot of mental and emotional toughness. And he's a guy who, I hate to say this, you're going to be rooting for in the NFL. And hopefully he'll be on we're going to talk about some other players where the situation is really going to affect their trajectory. But if he gets in the right spot, like the Bears, for instance, who might be in the need of a safety, of course, I said Durham Smythe earlier. He's a guy who can replace Kevin Byard. Be really exciting to see something like that, a team who can instantly plug and play a player like him.
Was Byard a Purdue guy?
No,
who am I thinking?
He's
of?
a division,
Finnegan?
like a 1AA or something like that. I can't remember.
Oh, okay. Who's the guy I was thinking of? Played for the Titans. He's a butthole of a player.
Cortland Finnegan?
Yeah, that guy.
I think he was like Shippensburg State or something like that.
I don't know who it was. I don't know. Saturday. Saturday's the day. I won't be able to go. I've got some basketball games, and then I think I'm golfing Saturday. But weird enough, I know. And this is the big one: quarterback, wide receiver, running back. That's
Middle Tennessee State. Damn it, I knew it was one of those Tennessees.
Who was that? Finnegan?
Kevin Byard.
Byard. All right. I thought Finnegan was Purdue.
No.
We'll start with I can't remember who the Purdue guy is. Then you have to look that up.
Cortland Finnegan was Samford.
Dude, there's a Purdue guy that was a butthole. I can't remember who.
You think all Purdue guys are buttholes?
Most of them. All right, we'll start with as I said, quarterback, wide receiver, running back. We'll start with I guess Fernando Mendoza. I don't know. And here's the list of accolades, and I guess we'll start here. First team All-American, first team All-Big Ten, Heisman Trophy, first ever in IU history. Maxwell and Walter Camp Award Trophy. Davey O'Brien Trophy, first ever in IU history for a quarterback. Obviously, it's a quarterback award. Peach Bowl and National Championship MVP. Threw for 3,535 yards. Yes, 35. 41 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, a rating of 182.9. Also carried the ball 90 times for 276 yards and 7 touchdowns. Don't need to do the projections, I don't think. Fingers crossed it goes through the way it's supposed to go through, because that's a little bit of a payday for me too. But QB1 and number 1 overall. I mean, what can you say about Heisman Mendoza, Seth?
So this is the biggest risk reward scenario, and it's completely contingent upon where he ends up. Obviously, the assumption is he's going to the Las Vegas Raiders. And in the history of the Raider franchise, they have developed precisely 0 quarterbacks of substance in the last, 20, 30 years, let's say. Bill Callahan had Rich Gannon and Was that early?
That
2000s?
was the Super Bowl team. Yeah. Super Bowl.
So it was like 25 years, let's call it. I really like Bowers. I really like Renfro when he's healthy. But man, they just don't commit to a running game. They don't commit to re-signing their talented players. What they've done to Max Crosby is absolutely ridiculous. A guy who I want to hate, they've made me kind of like because they treat him like shit. It's like a weird, really weird situation. So I just don't think that he's going to get the kind of support that you would want him to have, or to have the kind of resources around him. Genty's going to be good, I think, but their line isn't great. So you'd have to keep him upright. He has the perfect attitude. He has everything you want. It's just a matter of, are the Raiders going to break him? Can the Raiders? Is he breakable? Is he unbreakable? I don't know. He's shown us absolutely no reason to think that he's suddenly some kind of fragile guy who's going to get beaten down by Las Vegas or beaten by an inept franchise. But damn, don't you wish he was going to someplace better than Las Vegas?
I do, but I've heard some good things out of there. One, I've heard the Max Crosby stuff isn't true, and that's from his mouth.
Well, he didn't play.
Yeah, but yeah, I think they have full intention of re-signing him or whatever.
I really wanted the Bears to trade for him. There was a bunch of smoke there for a little bit.
That would have been a good move for them.
Good for me.
They hold what Google calls roughly, which I didn't know was a thing, roughly 10 picks in the draft this season, or this draft coming up. They do have a draft pick in every round.
And they have a ton of cap room too, I believe, right?
Yes. So I think that they can rebuild the offensive line. And one of the cool things that, it's got to happen. It's got to happen for it to be cool. But one of the cool things you've seen in red is that apparently there's interest in pairing him with either Omar or Elijah. Mm-hmm. So that could be that's the one thing they're missing, right? They traded away their best wide receiver for a 4th and a 7th round pick. And their best wide receiver was Jacoby Myers, who's wide receiver 3 on Jacksonville, 2 maybe.
Yeah, I'd say somewhere in the 75 to 50 of top receivers in the league.
Yeah. So they need a stud wide receiver. They need, they've got Bowers. If he can stay healthy, he's a really, really good player. Ashton Genty, I've seen it in fantasy. He almost knocked me out of the tournament. That's a really solid back. And he's just going to get better as the offensive line gets better and the quarterback play gets better. They have the second most
cap space, almost $88 million in cap space.
Well, we'll see how it works out. I mean, I think that if you have the number 1 overall pick, I think that's where you see if they're really going to invest and really going to try to build around one particular player. The 2 guys we just mentioned, Omar Cooper and Elijah Surratt, they'll be there as well. Omar Cooper, a second-team All-American and second-team All-Big Ten. Surratt, also second-team All-Big Ten. Cooper finished the season with 69 catches.
Nice.
937 yards, 13 touchdowns. Also carried the ball. This is an interesting stat. Carried the ball 3 times for 74 yards and a touchdown. The reason it's an interesting stat is because he had 1 carry for 75 yards and a touchdown against Kennesaw State. So his other 2 carries went for, do the math. Seth
-1.
There you go. Position rank, they've got him as wide receiver 10, 52nd overall, and projecting him to go in the 2nd round. We'll stay here real quick, then you can talk about both of them. Elijah Surratt, no All-American for him this season. Injured, missed 3 games, I think, if I remember off the top of my head. Second-team All-Big Ten, 65 receptions, 830 yards, 15 touchdowns. Position rank number 11. So we have the number 10 and number 11 wide receiver in the rankings, 55th overall and projected as well in the 2nd round. Real quick fun note on both of them. It's the first wide receiver combo in the Big Ten to finish with double-digit touchdowns since Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, which means Abuka and Smith, and I guess it wouldn't have been Smith. It would have been Abuka and Smith and Jigba. Yeah, They didn't do it. Like that's a pretty big stat. So talk Cooper and Surratt.
Yeah. So I was hearing, I think it was Mel Kiper Jr., who's one of my least favorites. So I'm hoping it's not him, but was just talking about how Omar Cooper is one of the most aggressive.
McShay. It was Todd McShay.
Thank you. Thank goodness.
Him.
Oh, thank goodness. Oh, that's redemption. Todd McShay was going on and on about just how an aggressive, just determined blocker he was. And that's one of those things that'll make you friends in the NFL. That's one of those things that they'll put you on running plays to give the big guys a break. I think he eventually turns into a really good player. We always jokingly called him Debo. I've heard some other comparisons that were, I don't know. I wasn't necessarily as keen on, but I think he's a type of guy who can put up over 800 yards in the NFL. I think he's a guy who can be a red zone threat because his body, because he's strong. He can take hits. He can have contested throws or contested catches. Sorry. And he also has still a lot of speed. So I think he does a little bit of everything. It can really add some versatility. And I think he's a guy who can probably get in the mix and play pretty quickly. Surratt, on the other hand, I think is a little bit, he reminds me a lot of Mike Evans. If Mike Evans was 6'1", 195.
Do you want to hear my comparison there? Is Keenan Allen.
Right. Yeah. And Keenan Allen is a lot bigger than you think he would be, than I think you remember him to be too. But he's a little smaller. I think he's like 6'1", 195. So obviously compared to Mike Evans, he's pretty big for normal receiver.
Huge. Yeah.
But he reminds me a lot of the way he moves, the way he high points, the way he is just phenomenal in the red zone. His toe touch capabilities. He really reminds me.
When you look up possession receiver, right? Like that's exactly who that is.
Yeah. Again, if he was 6'4", if he holy hell, he'd be number one. He'd be a top first round draft pick.
6'2", 209. What they've got.
Okay, it's a little bigger than I thought he would be. Yeah. But yeah, he's just a little bit of an undersized, maybe a little bit less explosive Mike Evans, which again I think is a insane comp. But
what about Pittman? Could you compare him to Pittman?
I think Pittman's a little more muscular through the trunk and the body.
I could see that. Yeah.
But I do think they have similar route trees.
He's not going to blow anybody out of the water down on a fly or anything. Yeah.
Right. But he can get separation in space. He has quick twitch. He has all those little things you want to see. And he is one of the best back shoulder fade receivers that we've seen. So his route tree just continues to develop. I would expect to, the one thing he hasn't done is a lot of streaks, a lot of posts. So if that continues to add to his, maybe it's just not the way they've used him. But I'd like to see a little bit more development of that route tree, but it's still pretty strong. I think he'd be another asset to a team, probably be an instant impact player.
He's got
the only two things that I don't think that either one of them are returners though. Which helps some receivers get on the field a little bit more quickly.
Yeah, I don't think either one of these players have a problem getting on the field.
Right.
I don't. I think I've seen some mock drafts where no, I'm not going to dive into that. We're not going to do that. We'll just save it. We'll just let it sit. I was going to make fun of Surratt's route tree at IU. It was just a slant or a back shoulder. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's all he's got. But I think he's going to be a really good receiver. I don't think he's going to have a problem. He's not like trying to think of like past IU receivers, right? You think of recent ones. You've got like Cody Latimer,
Westbrook,
James Hardy, Westbrook, right? You think of those guys. Westbrook's a down the field guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to get down the field. He's going to catch your big shots. That's what Latimer is going to do. Hardy was a throw the ball up. I'm in a high point kind of dude. I think at one point in this one of the seasons that he played, he had 2 catches, 2 touchdowns. That's all they used him for. That's it. Just in the red zone. We're going to fade it to
contested catches. Yep.
I think both of these receivers fit a profile, but they fit a profile of like a receiver that's on the field for 3 downs. So We'll see. This
The
one's
way-
a little tougher.
Oh, sorry. hold on. The way
Oh,
I
go
was trying
ahead.
to foresee it is how they would fit into the team that I root for and the team that I know the most, or the team that I like. I watch the Bears and the Colts the most, and it's like, oh, I could totally see how the Bears would use Omar Cooper. Oh, I could totally see how the Bears would use Elijah Surratt.
Yeah.
And as you know, we're trying to decide on whether or not we keep DJ Moore, and he's getting older. The cap is getting more expensive. It's like those are the receivers that Ben Johnson seems to kind of like, is those types of bodies, those types of route trees. So it'd just be really interesting to see what schemes they fit into.
Dude, that's just Ben Johnson talking about him and St. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. Cooper could do that. I mean, he could do
Cooper
that.
actually does have a similar body type, I think, to Amon Ra.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit thicker. I think Cooper's a little bit thicker, but yeah, I think that'd be a pretty good place for him to go. Just don't go to the Colts. I don't know who's going to throw.
Well, I'm of course I want the Bears to draft like 35 players. So
Yeah. All right, last one for Saturday from IU, Roman Hemby, third team All Big Ten.
This was a little bit of a surprise for me.
It was.
I'll be honest.
But both backs got over 1,000 yards. He had 1,127 touchdowns. Holds now the longest rush in bucket game history. 101 years of playing that 82-yard run. Running back 14. They've got him projected about 5th round. I think it's about right. I think he could be one of those guys that sees return play.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's his biggest stake to get on the field immediately. He's a guy who I was worried might be kind of a practice squad kind of guy for the first couple of years until he develops more of a common role, or unless injuries kind of force him into a more prominent role. But because he is a punt returner and does have kick returning capabilities, he may force his hand a little bit more. And then all of a sudden he's a third down back. And then all of a sudden he's kind of playing his way into more capable hands. So I don't know. He scares me a little bit, just because I don't know what NFL scouts are looking for outside of the obvious running back prospects. I don't know. Sometimes I was obsessed with Donovan Edwards as a pass catcher. I thought he was going to be an absolute NFL stud PPR, and the guy's done absolutely nothing. I feel so dumb. But so you try to find these obvious skill sets that are going to translate. Hemby isn't a great receiving back. He does a little bit of it. He really good in the screen game, I thought, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So just trying to figure out what his, difference making skill set is it's hard to exactly identify, but he's a bit of a jackknife in that what is it?
Jackknife.
Not a jackknife.
Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades. I'm trying to combine jack of all trades and Swiss Army knife. There we
Swiss
go.
Army knife. There
Where he does a little bit of everything, but doesn't have one dominant trait.
Yeah. So you're right on the passing game at IU, right? So he had 17 receiving yards.
At Maryland, he was much more utilized.
He was big time. 17 receptions at IU, but in 24 he had 40, 23 he had 38, and 22 he had 33. So he caught the ball quite a bit at Maryland. I could see that. I'm with you. I love Roman Hemby. Everybody that listens to this podcast knows I love Roman Hemby. I don't know what he translates to yet in the NFL. I don't know. Because he's not, the way he runs the ball and the way we used him, to me, doesn't translate immediately to the NFL. Now, again, talking about the teams that we follow, right? I would rather have him over Goodson or whoever else is the backup running back for the Colts, right? So that's fine. If we can make that work, that'd be great. All right, last one on Sunday, offensive lineman Pat Coogan. He'll be there, the center, second team All Big Ten, the Rose Bowl offensive MVP, first Rose Bowl offensive lineman to win MVP since 1944. Ranked as the 25th best inside offensive lineman. Now, for the uninitiated in the draft, at least, that's 3 different positions. So break that down. And he's projected, again, anywhere between 5 and 7, maybe 4 and 7 if he has a good combine.
Yeah, to me, he was one of the guys I was worried would be snubbed. I thought that he'd be one of those guys he'd get his Shrine Bowl, or he'd get his East-West, or he'd get whatever his Senior Bowl was, and they'd be like, okay, that's good enough. We got a pretty good deal on this guy. So the fact that he gets the pro day, or he gets the combine invite, that's really cool for him. Got to be really excited for him as a guy, as a player, as somebody who's been through so much, got to the pinnacle last year, didn't quite get over the hump, and finally this year did. Was just an absolute emotional, mental stabilizer. And again, I think he projects more as a true center because exactly what he provides from a mental standpoint, as I think that's his biggest strength is his intangibles. I think he's really good footwork. I think he's really good hand position. I think he does everything you need a center to do. And a lot of times undervalued center is an undervalued draft pick. So those 5th through 7th round draft picks end up being day one starters because holy hell, if you can get a starter for $600,000, whatever the minimum is now, you're absolutely going to try to get that guy on the roster because he probably has enough flexibility to play swing guard or to play the swing guard positions that probably keep him on a roster as well. Because I imagine he's at least smart enough to be physical enough to be a guard, at least as a spot fill in. So I really think he projects out to be a 6th or a 7th guy right away, if not a starter on more of a desperate, cash efficient or cap efficient, I should say, a team that just really needs a plug and play center.
Yeah. Solid dude, leader.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll make a good teammate, and I think he'll be a good pro. Snubs.
Yeah, I had 2.
What do you think? Yeah.
And they both play the same position, and they would have been the Friday guys. So this would be one of them's hurt. So I get why Daly isn't there. Actually, shit, I think it's 3, and I think Wyatt really showed some flashes. I think Wyatt would have been really exciting. Yep. And then Kamara. I just think that's strange. I think what he did this year, obviously you take a look at the production, you see it's a giant step back. We're all aware of that. We've talked ad infinitum about how it's a complete role change, and the production drop off was an expectation of that role, and not a result of his lack of skill. He was going against left tackles all season instead of right tackles. There's a difference in skill set there. Typically they run to that side, or they typically, they're putting him on the run side a lot more rather than the pass rush side. So that's a natural part of that progression, is a lack of skills. He has the body, he has the size to play multiple positions. He can play the 3 technique all the way out to the 9. So he can play, kind of your defensive tackle inside rushers to all the way to your outside edge rushers. I don't necessarily think I would trust him as a stand-up, in a 3-4 scheme where he wasn't the primary rusher. But I just really think that all 3 of those guys, and people pull defensive linemen out their ass in the NFL, like undrafted free agents all over the place. You'd have to think guys like that could absolutely help a team somewhere along the line.
Yeah. And now remember, Daly missed. He played all the Big Ten championship, got hurt in post-game celebration. So he missed the last 3 games of the season. He finished the season let me make sure that we're sitting in the same spot here, with 19 tackles for loss. Overall in the country, that is 3rd.
Yep.
Now, he's missing 3 games. He averaged 1.5 per game. He would lead the country. Do the math. Not that hard. So he would have 3 more, basically, for those that did not do the math. He was a really, really, really good player. He was decent at Kent State. I don't think that a lot of people paid attention to that. Stats were fairly similar. I think he just had 1 more sack this season than he did last season. But then when you play for a team that doesn't win any games, it's hard to get noticed, I guess. And then Kamara, I think, was hurt by the position change. I do. I get it for his body type, but I think he'll be fine. I think he'll get drafted. I don't see that being a problem. All right, let's take a second. My voice is a mess.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
You also wanted to shout out Kalon Black. I know we talked about this before.
Oh, Kalon. Yeah. Kalon too. Again, that goes to the running back thing. The way the NFL is using running backs now, I don't know. important, right? This
I mean,
season,
he was a hell of a short yardage back. I mean, I think he's a guy who situationally can be utilized.
He's such a good player. It's just he's going to get hurt with his size.
Yep.
He's going to get hurt with a lack of stats outside of this season, and
doesn't have breakaways, difference maker speed.
Look at the difference makers from last year's team that played in the NFL this year. Look at what's his name that plays for the Vikings, the returner. I can't think of his name. Miles Price, undrafted free agent.
Yep.
Right. I think Rourke would have had a good season, but he got hurt, and they were down to their third quarterback at some point, or got down to Mac Jones trying to play with torn.
I think it was hurt
meniscus or something.
I don't think they ever got to 3.
Yeah, but it's possible, and I think that you could see either one of these 3 get drafted. If not, they'll definitely make a roster. So, all right, let's take a break. Take a quick promo, and then
Kashawn Williams. He also returned.
Kashawn Williams. Yeah.
There we go.
For the Steelers, I think. Be right back. And we're back. No randos. We do have a sack, I think. You have a sack?
Yeah, except for Bragg. I'm going to put my sack in your hands this time.
Ooh.
You want to take it away?
I'll
be gentle.
See what I can do with it. I'll try. Voice is starting to go a little bit, I think, but we'll do our best. I owe you guys award winners for the 2nd Annual Golden Pint Award show. So we're going to run through it. Okay. Best in-game atmosphere regular season goes to Illinois. Best in-game atmosphere postseason, Peach Bowl, which is all Hoosier fans. Stat of the year, IU lost 1 fumble in the very first game of the season, and then went 1,047 snaps and 15 games later without another one. Opponent we loved beating the most, very obvious, Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship. Clutch moment of the year, Omar Cooper's catch against Penn State. Offensive play of the year, the Mendoza 4th down quarterback run. Defensive play of the year, D'Angelo Pond's pick 6 in the Peach Bowl. Best game, obviously national championship. Now onto the player awards.
Bragg, you're getting emotional. Stop it.
It's bad. Yeah.
Stop it.
The unit of the year goes to the linebackers. Transfer of the year, obviously Fernando Mendoza. Leftover of the year, Omar Debo Cooper. I'm running out of gas here. Best prospect for 2026. Where are we at? Get down here. Where we go? Goes to a tie between Kobe Martin and right tackle Ajani.
That was the best bit from the entire time. Nobody knows his first name. It's just Ajani.
Ajani. Breakout player of the year goes to Isaiah Bones Jones. Glue guy of the year goes to Pat Coogan. Offensive player of the year, obviously Mendoza. Defensive player of the year, D'Angelo Pons. And the first annual Fernando Gabriel Mendoza, the 5th player of the year award goes to Fernando Gabriel Mendoza, the 5th. So there's your awards. It went, what I just did with the voice and everything went so much smoother than what our actual award show went. Now, Brandon does owe you the monologue at some point because it was good. So we'll have to tease that out of him at some point, but that's it. That's all I got. I'm out of gas, bro. So what do you got? I want to say one thing. We'll be serious for a second. Maybe I'll give you the floor. Hopefully you don't cry.
Boy.
Yeah.
What did I do?
I want to say, I don't know what to say here. Thoughts and prayers to the Purdue family, I guess.
Oh,
and Rondale Moore and that sad news. IU or Purdue, either way, that guy was an absolute baller and just tough way to go. To go. So I don't know if you have anything else you want to say about that. If not, I'm done.
No, I mean, I think, obviously check on your friends. I think that goes first and foremost. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, we'll always have, the Tyler Trent Ohio State game. Like that will be one of those things that'll be forever etched in our memories and our hearts. And now it has even more significance in a weird way, that both the key members of that day are gone. It's weird. It's tragic. It's unfortunately way too common in the sport that so many of the young men that we root for and we spend so much of our time and energy trying to support end up feeling alone and vulnerable. And yeah, Dad, damn it, dude, thanks for doing this to me. So it's just the downside to the sport that we all love to follow. Yeah, it's an unfortunate reality. So yeah, thanks for saying that. Appreciate it. But yeah, that sucks. Boil it up, Rondale.
It does. He was one of the few people I think I've told you, like, I enjoy watching this guy play football.
I remember his recruiting journey. Like, we just knew, like, if we get him, it's gonna be magic. And we finally got him.
That was it the first year he's there, and yeah, just
immediately paid off. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns in the first quarter of the first game as a freshman or something. It was just insane.
All right, well, until next time, cheers.
Gumballs.
Gumballs, Jesus Christ.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.